Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to day 5. I'm still Sarah. Tonight is super easy. All we're going to do this evening is feed Jerome. And the reason for that is because tomorrow morning I'm going to get up and I'm going to take you through the process of turning Fred into starter farm bread. Starter Fred bread? Thank you, tall bearded assistant. Alright, we're going to feed Jerome. Now I cut this recipe down, and the reason why I've cut this recipe down, I cut in half. It's the same ratio, just cut in half from our day 3 and day 4 feedings, and I'm going to continue this amount for the next 25 days. But here's the thing, as we talked about yesterday, this is a marathon and not a sprint. When I attempt to turn Fred into bread tomorrow, I've done this before and I'm highly skeptical that he's going to have the leavening power or the flavor to lift the bread up. I'm going to take you through the process tomorrow to show you what that looks like, but it's going to be early days and not a lot is going to happen. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep feeding Jerome. Now, I'll post the ratio down below. The thing about feeding on a regular basis at this point is that I'm going to feed Jerome every 24 to 48 hours. And the reason for that gap in time is because if it's cool out, it continues to be the way the weather is now in southeast Michigan, it is unlikely when it's cooler out, the yeast activity is moving a lot more slowly. If it shoots up to 80 degrees on Friday, then Jerome's going to be more active because naturally yeast is much happier when it's in a warmer environment, and so I may have to feed him more often to keep him going. But I'm going to check him tomorrow night. All I'm going to do right now, same idea as we've done the past couple days, I'm going to go ahead and get my water in. I'm going to go ahead, get a little water in my fingers, and get and 10 grams of Jerome. And today we had a lot of really great questions and people posted what they've been doing with their spent starter. I found a great website that had a lot of different recipes, options, things to do with this. Laura had a really great question about, can you save your spent starter in the fridge until you have enough to actually make one of the recipes, so whatever amount it is that you need? And I said the answer is yeah, you got about 2 to 3 days. So, I'm going to take this out of the way. Thank you. And then I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get my flour in, 107 grams. And I do want to point out, at this point in time, when I looked at Jerome and I looked at Fred this evening, before I started this video, you know, at this point, their flavor profile is pretty similar. At this point, they are they still have slightly different aromas based only on the fact that I started Jerome with freshly milled whole grain flour. But other than that, they're both equally as active. So it was just a little bit of experiment to see what happened. And so, all I'm going to do, just need, like we have, I won't need a container that's quite as large because the amount of Jerome that I'm maintaining for the next 3.5 weeks is going to be substantially less. Now there may be a point next week, maybe in about a week's time, that I might have a good cycle going on with Jerome. I start to know each other, I start to know how he's behaving, how often he needs to be fed, that I still may even be able to cut this amount down even more. But at this point, I always want to make sure that he's early days, he's like a teenager at this point. I want to make sure that I've given him enough food to eat. I don't want to sell him short. But once we've maintained and we've gotten him into sort of middle-aged starter, then he may not need quite as much food. So, that looks good. Don't be alarmed that it's still really sticky. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to pop him into a clean container. I'm going to check on him tomorrow night, but my guess is that I'll be able to maybe not feed him again until Wednesday. But tomorrow I'll take you through the process of turning Fred into starter farm bred, and we'll see how far we get. Shout out to King Arthur Flower. Have a good night, everybody. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks so much.